They say true love never dies. But what if it writes you letters from the grave? It started with a dusty old desk. Julia had just moved into her late grandmother's cottage, nestled deep in the English countryside. The air inside still smelled of lavender and time itself, like the walls had stories to tell. Julia, a freelance illustrator and hopeless romantic, was excited for a fresh start. She'd left behind a breakup, a noisy London apartment, and a job that drained her soul. The cottage was a peaceful escape, or so she thought. While organizing the attic one rainy afternoon, she discovered something that would flip her reality upside down. An envelope wedged inside a hollow leg of the desk, sealed with wax, and addressed to someone named Margaret. But the odd thing, the letter was dated 1957, yet the ink was fresh. Curious, Julia opened it, and the words inside weren't just romantic, they were haunting. The letter spoke of longing, undying love, and a promise to return. Signed simply, yours, Edward. It read like the final message of a man going off to war. But here's the kicker. There was no Edward in the family tree. None of the old photos in the house showed a man by that name. So who was he? And why did his letter sound like he was writing from beyond the grave? Over the next few days, the mystery deepened. More letters began to appear, always in the same place, tucked into unexpected corners, behind a bookshelf, under a floorboard, once even inside a teapot. Each one more emotional, more urgent than the last. Edward spoke of their secret meetings under a willow tree, the scent of her perfume, a silver locket she always wore. Julia was captivated. It was like reading the chapters of a ghost's love story. She became obsessed, in the best kind of way. Every morning she'd wake up wondering if another letter had arrived. She started sketching scenes from the story. Margaret waiting by the tree, Edward in uniform, a kiss goodbye in the rain. Her art, once stuck in grayscale, suddenly exploded with passion and color. She posted the drawings online, and her audience grew fast, everyone intrigued by the unfolding mystery. The story felt too vivid, too real. But here's where things get eerie. Julia decided to dig deeper. She visited the village archives, combing through newspapers from the 50s. That's when she found an article. Margaret Bennett, a young woman, reported missing in 1957. Last seen near the riverbank, wearing a silver locket. No body was ever found. Her fiancé, Edward Callahan, was presumed dead during a military mission overseas. Locals had whispered for years that she'd vanished out of grief, or that he had come back for her, long after he was supposed to be dead. Suddenly, Julia's attic letters weren't just spooky, they were real. But here's the plot twist. One final letter appeared, but this time, it was addressed to Julia. Edward thanked her for bringing their story back to life, and wrote that, because of her, their love could finally rest. The handwriting was the same. The ink was still fresh. But that letter came days after the attic had been sealed for repairs. Julia never found another letter after that, but the cottage felt lighter, warmer, like someone had finally said goodbye. She turned the whole experience into a graphic novel called Love Letters from the Grave, and it sold out within weeks. Fans debated for months. Was it a ghost, a hidden family secret, or something deeper, like the power of love echoing through time? And maybe that's the real mystery. Because in a world full of forgotten messages, sometimes the past just wants to be remembered. Sometimes love doesn't knock on the front door. It slips in through the attic and leaves behind a letter with your name on it. Would you open it?